but no challenge there from Słowiskowski of Poland. So we'll restart with Bracy in 2, Vargas in 3, Nascimento in 4, Galbieri in 5, Ogunode in 6, and empty lane 7, and Nazarov in 8. This time look at Bracy in 2, and Ogunode looking good out there in lane 6. It will be Marvin Bracy from Femi Ogunode. Marvin Bracy, that 9.85 outdoors. It's really impressive, and if that clock's right, 6.46, that would be a new personal best for the American athlete. The first graphic we've seen has given that 3rd place to Nazarov of Estonia. Nervous look up the screen. We've seen some changes between what we see in the screen and what the confirmed result is at the end. But Marvin Bracy, our clear winner there. See what's going on behind. You can see the Estonians cheering their teammates on.
That's because not only is he confirmed for the 3rd spot, it's a national indoor record, 6:55. He's taken 0.07 of a second off his lifetime best, and he was a long way clear of the rest. He came through brilliantly from, guess what, lane 8.
See on lane 8 there, Nazarov isolated following that false start, but it was a good start from Ogunode and Bracy, but Bracy in 1. You often see these American footballers with this phenomenal start. They have to do the 40-meter sprint to kind of a fitness test in American football, and he did that in college, and it's transferred really well into a different sport, into track and field. Ogunode there of Qatar, he looked good in lane 6 as well. Galbieri of Italy doing everything he could to hold on to the world indoor bronze medalist from 2014, but Ogunode navigating his way into that semi-final, albeit 6:40 this evening.
Number flying off the thigh of Marvin Bracy, 6:46. Yes, he was working harder than Coleman, who was easing down, but he's quicker than him by 0.05 of a second. The 2 Americans looking the most impressive qualifiers so far.
It was a lovely moment just when they were waiting for the results. Harold Tilger of Estonia, he's out there doing the pole vault in the heptathlon, sharing those celebrations with Karl Nazarov as he got his Estonian national record. Here's the confirmed results of Heat 4 of the men's 60 metres. A win for USA's Marvin Bracy in 6:46, a new personal best. Femi Ogunode getting that 2nd automatic qualifying spot for Qatar. 3rd place goes to Karl Nazarov of Estonia in a new national indoor record.
We've seen some great performances from the Americans, Christian Coleman and Marvin Bracy, with 6:51 and 6:46 respectively. What about the reigning Olympic champion, Lamont Marcel Jacobs, the man who had to switch to flat-out sprinting after a succession of injuries as a long jumper, and how that turned out for the good. One of the sport's brightest stars. The way he stormed to gold in Tokyo will never be forgotten. Miles Lewis of Puerto Rico, national indoor record holder. He starts on the inside in lane 2. Miles Lewis. Good shape this year. Might need quicker than 6:61 though. Marcus Fuchs, 8 times a national indoor champion. Semis at the European Indoors a couple of years ago. Then we have an empty lane and we go to Marcel Jacobs, the Olympic champion. He says, I started focusing on times and stopped enjoying it. I'm here to run for medals and I'm here to win. Jared Elcock, Trinidad and Tobago, Pan American Relay silver medalist with his team back in 2019.
In lane 7, Imran
Banu Rahman of Bangladesh will be second nearest the camera, and Hassan Saeed fourth in the Asian Championships for the Maldives a few years ago. So lane 4 is empty. The Honduran not able to start, but all eyes on the Olympic champion, Marcel Jacobs. A false start here in Belgrade 10 days or so ago, but he says he's fully focused on the job in hand. He is here for more global medals. Coleman ran 6:51. That was the world champion in Heat 1. This is the Olympic champion in Heat 5.
Set.
Jacobs has had a good season. Good start, though, by Elcock just on his outside. Now the Olympic champion pouring on the pressure. Second from the outside. Rahman of Bangladesh ran really well to qualify alongside Elcock. Wow. That was really, really good by Marcel Jacobs. Lovely high knee lift. He was under a tiny bit of pressure with Elcock's start, but once he got into his rhythm, he was superb. 6:53, the unofficial time. It is game on in the battle between the Olympic champion and the world champion.
Marcel Jacobs looking supremely relaxed there to win that fifth heat of the men's 60 metres. I wonder how much he was thinking about the false start he had here a few weeks ago. He was slightly tentative out of the blocks. He did get outdone by Elcock there on his outside for me, but Marcel Jacobs just getting into his running in the second half of the race, and no one could live with him. What a great run from Imran Rahman of Bangladesh in lane 7, University of Birmingham student, graduate. He's finished now, but out here representing Bangladesh. See that discipline there, dipping all the way to the line. But Marcel Jacobs, he looked good. I think that should give Christian Coleman something to think about.
Look at that knee lift. Totally relaxed as he came into the line. Elcock just out-dipped Rahman. Just on the line. But this was about one man. Lamont Marcel Jacobs in lane 5. He's going to have to run quicker than he's ever done before, perhaps, to beat Christian Coleman, but he's clearly in good form. The Olympic champion, a very, very impressive qualifier for the semi-finals. Elcock out-dipping Rahman, and both of them will be in the semis, and a national indoor record for the man representing Bangladesh.
Emily Borthwick here, second attempt. There we go, that looks good there for Emily Borthwick. She's easing her way into the first round of this women's high jump. That was her second attempt at 1.84 meters. Plenty of air underneath the British athlete there. As you can look on to these higher heights.
Well, Jenny Meadows is down on the infield, and Jenny, it's been an emotional time for Emily Borthwick. She's hitting top form, but in so doing, she's bouncing back from a family tragedy. Just clarify exactly what she will have been through, perhaps, in losing her brother in such tragic circumstances.
Inače, 1.91 je njen najbolji rezultat ove sezone za jednu od naših najtalentovanijih atletičarki.
The high jump bar has gone up to 1.88 meters. Everybody who attempted 184 cleared it. Ochi McCoy of the USA was the only one who required 3 attempts. Mahuchik will come in at this height. Radzivil of Uzbekistan to go next. The heptathlon pole vault bar meanwhile is at 460 for Tilga of Estonia.
Thank you, Jenny, capturing that all so well. Emily Borthwick to say the worst has happened. I've had to deal with that. I've come through that. I can handle a World Indoor Championships. I can handle anything this sport will throw at me after losing her brother so tragically. But it's interesting, we've seen Dream Richards similarly motivated. It's so emotive trying to do your loved ones or your lost ones proud in sport, but it can be a powerful and wonderful motivator for athletes.
Yes, Dream Richards, the 200-metre medalist on the global stage, stepping up to the 400, running this weekend, the Trinidadian, in memory of his relay teammate Dion Lendor, who will be so sadly missed by everyone in the athletics community. A fine, fine sprinter and a great member of so many wonderful quartets for Trinidad and Tobago. Emotional reasons for many athletes to be competing this weekend.
Composure to still deliver your best under those under those emotions is really spectacular. Dabbler here of Togo. Is this heat 6 of 7 in the men's 60 metres? So moving towards the end of the opening qualifying rounds in this men's 60 metres. Just one more heat after this, and then we will turn our attention to the semi-final. But these men are going to have a go at trying to make that semi-final. In lane 2, Eli Al-Balushi of Oman. Lane 3, Rikoy Brathwaite, second place at the NCAA Championships for Indiana University last week. Here competing for the British Virgin Islands today. It's a tough turnaround for the athlete. We have lane 4, David Vivas, national record holder for Venezuela. And then we're hearing we've lost lane 5 and lane 6. That'll be quite a big gap before we get all the way out there into lane 7. Lekutsi Dabla, the Olympian from Togo. And completing the lineup in lane 8 will be Guyana's Travis Collins, just 0.1 of a second off his personal best this season. He'll need every bit of that 6:61 pace to make this semi-final. 3 more automatic qualifying spots up for grabs in the men's 60-metre semi-final.
Good heat to be in. There's only 5 in the race.
Away cleanly, pretty even across the 2 lanes. Maybe that lane 8, Travis Collins, treating him very well. Hard to tell when the field is so spread out. I think Rikoy Brathwaite, probably the favourite before the race started. He was the fastest on paper, just powering away there in lane 3. But that looked hard work for all of those men. None of them looked particularly relaxed or particularly confident. The graphics changed already on our screen. Rikoy Brathwaite being given the win. But like I say, second place at the NCAA Championships last week. That was the first race he's lost this season. But that's a big journey to get all the way from Birmingham, Alabama to Belgrade in Serbia. But Rikoy Brathwaite's managed it. A great victory there for the British Virgin Islands.
Very, very close between the Guyanan on the outside, Collins, and Brathwaite in 3. Both of them safely through. They're being separated by nothing more than 1,000th of a second. Vivas, the Venezuelan, dipped well for 3rd. He's on the left of picture here, with the British Virgin Islander on the right. I've been to the British Virgin Islands. They are such a proud nation. It's a succession of islands, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of people on the main island of Tortola watching closely, and news will be filtering back to the island and Virgin Gorda and Jos van Dijk that Brathwaite has made the semis. So watch on the left as Collins comes home. 1,000th of a second between them. I mean, it's much of a muchness. Brathwaite was easing down towards the line. They're both there.
Shows the importance of running through the line. No consequences here for Rikoy Brathwaite. He does take that second place and get another shot in the semi-finals. But Guyana's Travis Collins been given the nod by our track judges and the photo finish officials. 3rd place going to Venezuela's David Vivas. Just 5 5 competitors now after 2 withdrawals, and that leaves us with one final heat in this men's 60-metre hurdles, 60-metre flat. Chuck some surprise hurdles, but here is our first look at the Ukrainian Mahuchik, 188, making that look very simple. That was a first-time clearance there for Mahuchik. This is her opening height in the competition.
10 seconds, 188.
Timing, their positioning over that bar, really good. Sitting in joint first there, saw Dimoreva of Bulgaria with a first-time clearance. Valo Tigara of Italy with a first-time clearance. Maria Vukovic, just having a great season. Montenegrin. 3 athletes in this field on that 1m96 this season. Vukovic is one of those, and you can see why, making light work of 1m88. Mahuchik, Vukovic, Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan. They're the 3 athletes that have cleared 1m96 this indoor season. Vukovic.
188 at the first time of asking.
Took her 2 attempts at 1m84. She's found her rhythm.
Next for Uzbekistan will be Saduleva.
So, Uzbekistan's Saduleva. Saduleva looking a little bit tense. Good first-time clearance at 1m84. Nothing to worry about there. First-time clearance at 1m88 maintains her clear scorecard. Irina Garashenko of the Ukraine will be next to jump. She had a first-time clearance at 1m84. A long run-up for the Ukrainian athlete. Got the
Garashenko 188 first time.
We will just leave this women's high jump competition. You can see the Ukrainian athlete there by the shot put mats, and we'll turn our attention to this final heat of the men's 60 metres.
Yes, we just saw Stephen Bastian running through on his latest effort in the pole vault, the men's heptathlon. We'll bring you up to speed with that as well. But yes, time for our 7th and final heat of the men's 60 metres. Francesco Sansovini of San Marino, a non-starter in lane 3. There's Sean Safo Antwi of Ghanea. He goes in lane 4. Volodymyr Ajamale, semi-finalist in the World Indoors back in 2016. He goes in lane 2. 3 wins this year. Then to Safo Antwi. Made the final 4 years ago when he was 7th. 6:55 and it's a lifetime best. He's not far off that kind of shape. Felipe Bardi in the lane outside him's in good form. South American champion indoors and outs. 6:62 a PB this season. Then to Benel Delamini of Swaziland in the lane next to him. 10:68 outdoors, his best over the full 100. Adam Thomas of Great Britain, national indoor champion with a Scottish record, 6:56 this year. And Hassan Taftian, national record holder for Iran over the 60, the 100 and the 200. Semi-finalist in the Olympic Games over 100 metres in Rio. He's a little way off his PB of 6:51. Ajamale in lane 2 for Canada. Safo Antwi, the Ghanaian, in 4. Watch for the Brazilian just outside him in 5. And Adam Thomas of Great Britain in lane 7 will be second bottom from our picture. The last heat, the last 3 men to add their names to the list of those through to tonight's semi-finals in the men's 60 metres. Really good start by the Ghanaian in the distinctive yellow. And look at Adam Thomas coming through. Thomas and Ajamale in the end. Good work by the Brit and the Canadian. And unofficially, it looks as though Bardi may have taken that spot from Safo Antwi of Ghana. He had the best start, but when Thomas got into his running, the race took on a different dynamic. Pretty close between the Briton and the Canadian, but lane 7 and lane 2 making absolutely sure. Ajamale finishing well.
Bolade Ajamale is looking up at that screen. It's been given to him at the moment. He'll see his face. Up on that big screen with his Canada across his chest. Very proud, but let's have a look at that race again. You can see Adam Thomas got a lightning quick start. Sean Safo Antwi did as well. Went wrong there for the Ghanaian athlete in the inside, but Adam Thomas powering away there in lane 7, but Bolade Ajamale was getting on with business very quietly there in lane 2 on his own. You can see that empty lane 3 between Ajamale and Safo Antwi. Safo Antwi full of running at this stage. Ajamale, high-stepping, relaxed, tall Canadian there in lane 2. Under no pressure whatsoever, running his own race. We've seen that a few times in the opening rounds of these sprint events. Cool, calm look across. He didn't even have a dip. He knew he had that. Great Britain's Adam Thomas making it one Great Britain representative through to the next semi-final stage.
From Bolade Ajamale, a PB with that 6:57. From lane 2, Adam Thomas took the second spot. Bardi out-dipping Safo Antwi on the line for the 3rd automatic spot.
Full result of that last heat is on the scoreboard now.
7 heats.
3 qualifiers.
And a whole host of men who will fancy they can try and topple the world champion Christian Coleman. Most notably, Marvin Bracey among them, his teammate, the fastest of the qualifiers, but Coleman was easing down on the line. Jacob 6:53, so the world champion and the Olympic champion safely through. After Cisse ran well from the Ivory Coast, just down the bottom, Adam Thomas coming through. Another one of the athletes inside 6.6. Andrew Robertson made it through with 6:62. Rahman of Bangladesh, a national indoor record, making it through with 6:64. Brathwaite of the British Virgin Islands coming home inside 6.7. Very competitive set of semi-finals still to come.
Take a moment to catch up with the women's high jump. It's Angelina Topic. Listen to that Serbian crowd roaring on the 16-year-old. Second attempt at 1m88, and she gets it. Listen to that roar. She must be full of nerves. Such anticipation on the 16-year-old shoulders. Her mum was a triple jump bronze medalist at the 2009 World Championships. Her dad was a high jump world indoor bronze medalist in the 90s. So Angelina Topic comes from a family that knows all about picking up medals at world level. Maybe not at 16. Emily Borthwick, all smiles. This is her second attempt at 1m88. She's out there nearly in lane 1 of the back straight. These indoor arenas are so tight. And it gets even tighter when you throw all these events in together. Second attempt, 1m88, not to be for Emily Borthwick. Straight away she said to herself, all right then, let's have a look. And see, perhaps not just getting the height she needs to get over that 1m88. Such a technical event. She walks to the side. She's been helped there by Laura Turner, Alil, Holly Mills, coach. And they've got an iPad. They're figuring out what can you do to give yourself a better attempt at your 3rd and final attempt at 1m88. This lady, Svetlana Radzivil of Uzbekistan, she's on her 3rd and final attempt at 1m88. Could the athlete from Uzbekistan be our first casualty in this women's high jump final? Radzivil, 6th place at the Tokyo Olympics, but she's the first to exit this World Indoor Championships It's the women's high jump final, straight final in this event, 12 athletes contending. But Svetlana Radzivil will take no further part. See the frustration there. She is a great championship performer, but just not to be here today in Belgrade. Another athlete on a third and final attempt here, Rachel McCoy. It took her 3 attempts to get over her 1m84. And here she is, third and final attempt at 1m88. This would be a season's best for the American athlete. She can manage it. Knocks it off with her hand on the way up. Rachel McCoy, our second casualty in this women's high jump final. Stay with this women's high jump. We will see Emily Borthwick. She's also on a third and final attempt with 1m88. But Rachel McCoy there just contemplating life. Pretty frustrated. Right, Emily Borthwick, third and final attempt at 1m88. Emily Borthwick of Great Britain will take no further part in the World Indoor Championships. Got quite a late invitation into this championships. There was a qualifying mark that was really quite tough, and then they go down the seasons list and invite other athletes, and that included Emily Borthwick. But a fantastic season for the British athlete. A slightly earlier exit than I'm sure she would have hoped for in this women's high jump final.
Looks a little bit emotional, and you can understand why. A brilliant season, as you said, and was not completely out with the bounds of possibility that she could have been in the shake-up for the medals.
That's the tough thing about these technical events. Emily has jumped 1m95 this season, and when you look at where the medals are going to go in this championships, it wouldn't be surprising that one would go to someone jumping 1m95. So it's very frustrating when you know that you're physically capable of something. But as I said in some of the horizontal jumps we had yesterday, every arena is different. Every track surface is different. You have to learn on your feet. You have to come here and feel how your body and your stride responds to each arena. It's not as simple as just replicating something you've done in training.
Just a reminder of what's still to come. Heats of the women's 800, the men's 1500, and we will keep a close eye on what's happening with the penultimate event of the men's heptathlon. They're in the midst of a marathon session of pole vault on the other side of the infield. And in fact, the women are out on the track for the start of the 800, so it won't be long before we return our attention to the four-lap indoor race. But what a reception Topic will now receive from the home crowd.
Back to Angelina Topic, 16-year-old's first attempt at 1m92. This would be an outright personal best for the Serbian athlete. Oh, that wasn't too bad. See that frustration on her face. Replay there.
Up is so far, I was looking across the track and couldn't see her. She's miles up towards the start of the 60.
Well, every athlete is different. I'm told the typical run-up is 8 to 10 strides. Angelina Topic may be using more of that track to get into her speed, build her speed up, and then execute those 8-10 crucial strides. Valor Tagara of Italy. Some of these high jump athletes, they run straight, and in their final 4 or 5 strides, they have to make a curve. That's what propels them over the bar. They have to convert that horizontal speed and force and momentum into vertical height. The forces they put through their ankles and their knees is astronomical. Lena Valor Tagara, clean scorecard so far. Can she continue that on 1m92? Yes, she... Oh! commentator's curse. I thought she was all that. The naked eye over on the other side of the stadium, I thought Velortigara had cleared that. See, ever so slightly rattling that bar with her legs. So now what these athletes will do, they'll talk to their coach and they'll adjust that run up. They might move back, they might come forward to give them a better chance of hitting their high point right over that bar. Velortigara, such an experienced athlete, so make some adjustments and have a second attempt at 1 metre and 92. Stay with this women's high jump for another few attempts. This is Mirela Dimireva, second place at the Rio Olympics. Silver medal at the last edition of this championships in Birmingham. Again, agonisingly close to that 1 metre and 92. Dimireva, she's had a lot of attempts in many of her competitions. She's so experienced, she knows how to tinker with the run-up, to tinker with her approach. And she's going to have to go away and do that again. The Bulgarian wants to see higher heights in this women's high jump. You wonder how much these early clean scorecards might favour these athletes. Velortigara and Dimireva having to wave goodbye to their perfect scorecard. Mahuchik is on a perfect scorecard. She passed at 1 metre 94, first time clearance at 1 metre 88. 1 metre 92 now for the young Ukrainian. And this 1 metre 92 is causing our athletes some issues. Yaroslava Mahuchik will have to settle for a second attempt. See those cones there on the track, ready for the women's 800. Mahuchik will have to attempt this 1 metre and 92 again. We'll leave this women's high jump and head back to the track for the women's 800 metres.
On track, it's time for the heats of the women's 800 metres.
Na redu je Anastaziji, takmičenje kod dama, 800 metara kvalifikacije.
3 heats, the first 2 in each heat, and 2 time qualifiers reach the final.
Dve najbolje iz svake od 3 grupe.
Time for the middle distances to resume. We've got 3 heats of the semis.
We meet the athletes, first of all,
Top 2 from each, plus 2 non-automatic qualifiers. Natoya Goul will be on the outside, Pan American champion, Commonwealth silver. Second fastest athlete in the world this year. So often the nerves get the better of her come the big final. Will that be the case this weekend? Madeline Kelly, 26-year-old from Canada, national champion a few years ago. Exactly the same PB, indoors and out. Extremely rare. Irene Hailu, just off the podium in Tokyo last year. 3:56 at her best. Jenny Selman, national indoor champion. She's in PB shape. Then to Olivia Baker, World Youth and World Junior medalist. And then Alana Bello, 4 times a national champion, semis of the Olympic Games. We were supposed to have Hedda Hein, the Olympic semi-finalist, in this heat. She goes in the next one because we've lost Keely Hodgkinson, and also Nell Yana of Kenya has pulled out of the second heat. This is the first, top 2 coming back for the final. They're underway in this battle for 2 automatic spots in the final of the women's 800 metres. Now comes the break. Natoya Goul loves front running, and it is therefore rather inevitable that the very talented Jamaican has gone straight to her favoured position. Hailu coming now wide on the outside, and this is quite aggressive early on from the Ethiopian.
That was quite a concerted move there from Hailu. Sometimes when you've got a race plan, if her coach has said, I want you to lead, I want you out of trouble, kind of doing that stubbornly, despite the fact you've got an athlete of the calibre of Natoya Goul, who has got better and better at pacing her effort over 800 metres. I'd expect the Jamaican to be fairly comfortable in this heat. With the absence of Keely Hodgkinson, she is by far the fastest in the field. It's her Goyle there of Jamaica. She's gliding onto the outside of the Ethiopian athlete as they come around to 400 to go.
59.25 at the bell, metaphorically speaking. Of course, the bell comes at 200 indoors. I wonder whether she's gone a little bit too fast there, Hailu. That was a very, very sharp injection of pace from 200 through to 400. Goul now back in front. Also, Great Britain's Jenny Selman coming up into the mix. Remember, only the first two guaranteed a place in the final. Hailu trying to get on the shoulder of Natoya Gould, the second fastest woman in the world this year, as they take the bell in this first of three semi-finals for the women's 800 metres. Great Britain's Jenny Selman going well on the inside, but watch for the American Olivia Baker trying to come up onto the Britain's shoulder and into the mix. Hailu might be getting tired here. She's just about holding enough of a gap on the American and the Briton. Only the first two are coming back for the final. Natoya Gould has run really well here. Gould and Hailu are first and second. Jenny Selman will have to wait and see whether her time is good enough to go through as one of the non-automatic qualifiers.
In the end, running a very sensible race there. She got herself out of trouble. She looked like she was faltering in that last lap. I thought she was going to slow down and get swallowed up by the pack, but she'd saved it really importantly. She'd saved something for that last 100 metres. She didn't need to battle with Natoya Gould. She could let her go, but you can see Jenny Selman trying to get herself into second position. Every time she tried, Ethiopia's Hailu had a response. You can see here coming into the bell, Jenny Selman was trying to overtake, and Hailu of Ethiopia went, nope, I'm going to protect that position. Jenny Selman manages to get through the inside, and Hailu again goes, nope, I want that second position, all within the rules of athletics. They've navigated this tight indoor track fantastically well, but Hailu doing very well to hold on to Natoya Gould and get that second automatic qualifying spot.
Yes, I thought I was going mad there because I definitely called Selman across the line in third, and I think they were looking around the stadium with a little bit of confusion because it appeared to have showed the Canadian coming in third. She wasn't. I was right. It was Selman. 2:02 on the nose, so the Briton will have to wait and see.
This is fine margins of 800 metre running. Jenny Selman made 2 attempts on the inside, got closed out by Hailu twice, and then you look, Madeleine Kelly nearly steals it on the inside. For me, Jenny Selman should have stayed on the rail and hoped to be even closer up towards Goyle and Hailu, but hey, it's a gamble that's not always worth taking.
And maybe this is the weekend for Natoya Gould to finally deliver her best come the big occasion where her nerves so often let her down. Natoya Gould, one of the fastest in the world this year, safely through. Freweni Hailu hung on for the second spot. Jenny Selman of Great Britain will have to wait and see whether 2:02 on the nose is good enough for one of the 2 non-automatic qualification spots.
About just 600ths of a second ahead of Madeleine Kelly. That could be the difference between a spot in the final and ending the championships.
Well, what a great competition it's been so far for Simon Ehammer. Excellent clearance. Remember, he's battling to close the gap on Damien Warner, and on paper, he is a better pole vaulter. Ehammer with a clean card so far. 480. Very good work by the Swiss athlete, who had a wonderful high jump competition yesterday. Remember, just the 1,000 metres to come. I say just. Easy to say that from the commentary box. He was miles over there, Ehammer, as well. Miles over. Now, Maloney, there were a few concerns about the state of the former world junior champion's knee. Olympic bronze medalist. That was good. A little raggy, he's shaking his head. Coached by Steve Rippon, formerly the Finnish national pole vault coach. And apparently, Rippon is a massive Brighton and Hove Albion fan. I was told to say that by one of our fellow commentators, Tim Hutchings, so there we go. Now, Maloney and Ehammer were clear. What about Damien Warner? The Olympic champion, the silver medalist from 4 years ago? Yeah. Not as much daylight as he perhaps would have liked, doesn't matter. Bar was successfully cleared, and at the moment, Ehammer unable to pull away from the Canadian in this battle for what could turn out to be the gold. Warner leading from Ehammer in second place overall, and the main protagonists all over 480.
Here is our world lead for the 2022 indoor season, Eleanor Patterson. First attempt at 1 metre and 92, and she maintains. I spoke spoke too soon with one of the other ladies, but I am right this time. Eleanor Patterson maintains her clear scorecard. The Australian really in the driving seat at the moment in this season. Velour Tigara, this is her second attempt at 1 metre and 92. Italian athlete just rehearsing her approach into this high jump. Velour Tigara, first time clearance 1 metre 84, first time 1 metre 88. This is her second attempt at 1 metre and 92. And the Italian athlete, for me there, just getting a high point a little bit in front of the bar maybe. We'll have a look at that replay. And for me, she has pretty much enough height. Maybe she needs to find a little bit more. But suddenly, this is the agony of women's high jump. 3 attempts can go ever so quickly, especially when other athletes are clearing and you're suddenly got to jump back to back very quickly. We will head back to the women's 800 metres. This is the second heat of 3. So Taya Goyle, Rayan Halu of Ethiopia go 1-2 in that first heat. Hedda Heine, who moved from that first heat into this heat with a couple of withdrawals in the second heat, most notably Keely Hodgkinson should have been out there in lane 6, the new British national indoor record holder, the fastest time in 20 years, withdrawing today, which is a shame, but I'm sure these women will be pleased to have a slightly easier race. Germa there of Ethiopia in lane 6. Lane 4 goes to Norway's Hedda Heine, national record holder indoor and outdoors. Lane 3, Lorena Martin, Spanish champion, personal best 2:01:34. Now Arjay Wilson, she has had 2 silver medals at the last 2 editions of this championships. She's such an accomplished athlete, judges her races really well. That season's best of 2:01:38 does not reflect the winning season she has had over in the United States. And completing the lineup in lane 1, Schiffer Clara Butner. She saw her training partner El Pereira St. Pierre take that fantastic silver medal in the 3,000 metres last night. Let's hope the Irish woman managed to get a good night's sleep despite all that excitement.
On your marks.
So Arjay Wilson usually puts on a masterclass of leading races, whether it's indoors or outdoors, and you can see her there with that leg number 2, just easing past Schiffer Cleric Butner of Ireland. I'd expect Arjay Wilson to control this race from the front. Hedda Heine has been on the receiving end of those tactics in many a race on the Diamond League circuit, on the European circuit, at championships. But at the moment, Arjay Wilson controlling from the front, and as I say that, Hedda Heine, the Norwegian indoor and outdoor record holder, happy to go past the American, and the American let her, for me.
Yes, Arjay Wilson looked like she had set the perfect tone heading on to the second of our 4 laps, but it's got a little bit slow here. Hedda Heine moved from the first heat into the second. They are arguably 2 of the most experienced, and they might need to draw on all of that racing guile because it's got a little bit slow. Now, that little Q indicates 2:02 and 2:02:06. Those are the times required for any athlete not finishing inside the top 2.
So the likes of Arjay Wilson and Hedda Heine, they could close fast enough to get back down to that 2 minutes, but it isn't looking good for non-automatic qualifiers from this field. Tejist Germa of Ethiopia, a nation that's so proficient in the middle and long distances. She's very inexperienced, I'd say, at this level, though. She's done an outright PB this season, so she is in shape. And for the first time, we see the Irish woman, Schiffer Cleric Butner, make a move around the outside, trying to get past Martin of Spain. But there goes Arjay Wilson at the bell. Arjay Wilson's got fantastic closing speed when she's on form. She's so strong, and she looks strong today. Arjay Wilson striding away with 150 metres to go. Norway's Hedda Heine coming under pressure from Tejist Germa of Ethiopia. Lorena Martin doing really well to rally. Could the Spaniard there in the red strip cause an upset? But Arjay Wilson is going to stride away for what looks like a comfortable victory. She's looking up at that clock. She's got to keep driving, as does the Ethiopian. That is too close to call, I think, between Tejist Germa and a fast finishing Lorena Martin of Spain.
Really impressive there from Arjay Wilson. Went to the front right at the beginning. Didn't like it when Hedda Heine came past master, but what a lovely, decisive piece of acceleration right on the bell. Martin is giving it the big fist pump, but it was a great performance from R.G. Wilson, and the Ethiopian Tigist Girma just hanging on, I thought, although at the moment it has been given to the Spaniard. We'll have to make certain of that. I thought the Ethiopian had hung on, so we might be having a few little mistakes with these graphics, but how good was that from R.G. Wilson? Really composed.
R.J. Wilson there just putting on a masterclass of how to navigate the rounds in a women's 800 metres. It would have been great to see her match up against Keely Hodgkinson. That is close on the line there between Lorena Martin and Tigist Girma. We'll try and wait for the official result there. Hedda Heine did a good job of getting herself in pole position, but she couldn't quite hold on to it in the last 50 metres. Lorena Martin, perhaps inspired by Arriba and Garcia on the men's side, both advancing into that final yesterday in the men's event. Sure, she wants to be a piece of that World Indoor final action as well for herself. Leave it all to the Spanish men. Let the Spanish women have a good time as well.
Well, at the moment, Martin has been given it by 2 1/1000ths of a second.
Do you think that might be the confirmed result there? R.J. Wilson just relaxed out in the lead, 2:03.42, and Lorena Martin of Spain by a few thousandths of a second over Ethiopia's Tigist Girma. She's on 2 automatic qualifiers, and at the moment that will not be enough for a non-automatic spot for the Ethiopian or the Norwegian Hedda Heine. They're looking at 2 dead of Jenny Salmon and 2 dead 06, and the Canadian Madeline Kelly from the first round. So 2-2 dead and 2-2-06 are our non-automatic qualifiers at the moment. So these women in this final heat, as always, as we navigate these endurance heats, you'd say they've got a chance. If they can get the race moving, they can have those non-automatic qualifying marks. We'll catch you up to date with the women's high jump. Mahuchik making that look pretty easy there. That was her second time at clearance at 1m92. So business back to usual for the Ukrainian international medalist. Vukovic of Montenegro. She's got a real opportunity here to pick up a world senior medal. And that is doing our hopes no harm at all. That was her 3rd attempt at 1m92. So much pressure there on the athlete from Montenegro. Apologies, I think that was only the 2nd attempt for the athlete from Montenegro. Let's have a look at that. There we go. 2nd attempt at 1m92. It is a 3rd and final attempt, though, for Angelina Topic of Serbia. You hear the crowd roaring her on. Not to be for the young 16-year-old. That would have been an outright personal best for her. So she's done really well to be involved in this competition up until this point. I'm sure she would have loved to have snuck herself a PB in front of this home crowd, but I'm sure Angelina Topic of Serbia, that is certainly a name for the future. Just 16 years of age, here competing at her home World Indoor Championships in Belgrade, Serbia. Fantastic representation of her skill and talent there.
Now the men's heptathlon pole vault is ongoing. 3rd and final attempt at 480 for Lyndon Victor. Not one of his best events. This would be a good clearance. Oh, it was close, wasn't it? It was close, but not to be. Remember, he's trying to close the gap on Ash Maloney, who occupies that bronze medal position. But no further points for Lyndon Victor, and unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the javelin where he normally throws, or can throw, over 70 metres. Plenty to keep us entertained here in the Stark Arena. We've got the final semi-final of the women's 8, and then 3 heats of the men's 1,500 metres, as well as the end of the women's high jump competition and the end of the men's heptathlon pole vault. So if you're planning the rest of your Saturday, stick the kettle on. Wherever you're watching, keep us company. Well, it's Saturday. If you've been out for a cheeky 5K this morning, you could be forgiven for cracking open a packet of chocolate biscuits, maybe. Let's live on the edge.
Great to see some young athletics fans there, even if he's also equally proud of his Rubik's Cube with the Serbian flag on. Well done to that young man.
Good observation there from my co-commentator. Now, last of our semi-finals. Halima Nakai of Uganda, the world champion. Oliotia, if you're watching live in Kampala or elsewhere. Catriona Bissett, one of this year's outstanding performers. Oceania champion a couple of years ago. Naomi Correa, very good performer from Kenya. Angela Chihochka of Poland, former European champion. Then to Habita Malemu, 6th in the Olympic final last year. And on the inside, Lindsay Butterworth, Canadian national champion. She's got a 4:10 PB over the 1,500 metres. This is quite a tough semi-final. Well, you'd expect that. It's a battle for a place in a global showdown. Only 2 guaranteed, but watch for Bissett of Australia and Chihochka of Poland. Great qualifications from R.G. Wilson in the second of the semi-finals and Natoya Gould of Jamaica in the first. Who's going to seize the initiative early on here? It looks as though Bissett has been determined to get over onto the shoulder of the small figure Habitem Alemu, but don't forget about Nakai, Uganda's world champion, who's not afraid to use her elbows. She's just on the outside in third.
This is a super loaded heat. You feel like this has got to be where the non-automatic qualifiers come from, because there's so many big names. I'd hate to see any of these athletes go out. Habitem Alemu controlling this from the front. Catriona Bissett, she's such a ferocious competitor. And look at Lindsay Butterworth there. They say tall people shouldn't be good at indoors, and the Canadian doing every bit to disprove that, sneaking through on the inside. But she's got Halima Nakai on the outside. The turn of pace that the Ugandan can bring to this race could be really breathtaking in the closing stages. You can see just behind the group there, that line with the small Q, that represents the 2-2 exactly of Jenny Selman. That is the first non-automatic qualifier, and the whole field are ahead of that. Check out Angelika Chihochka there of Poland. She is so good with her tactics, as are all the Polish endurance athletes. So Chihochka could be in with a chance of one of those first 2 automatic spots as well.
We could well get all 4 from this semi-final. They take the bell, 131.4. Alemu has put herself up as a big target there. 1 or 2 of these athletes are now being spat out the back of this group. Remember, only 2 guaranteed, but we're watching for 2:02 or 2:02.06 for anybody not finishing inside the top 2. Alemu with Bissett battling with Nakai for the second automatic spot. The Australian bounding towards the line. Alemu and Bissett. Nakai will have to wait and see. She might just be okay. The unofficial time, 2:01.12 for the leader, and I make it. And if that graphic is accurate, Nakai and Chihochka will both go through, and we will indeed have 4 from the last semi-final. That was loaded. Alemu hung on really well there, but Bissett looks like she means business, and she's had a fabulous season, the Australian.
Alemu and Bissett beating the likes of Halima Nakai. She's having a fantastic season. She is in great form, and she employed some good tactics there. I didn't disagree with Nakai nipping on the inside at this point, giving herself the shorter line to run, but I think it might have cost the Ugandan in the closing 50 metres. You could see that tension in her. She's going, I'm not in the top 2, I can't get there, have I got space? She's doing everything to propel herself into the top 2, but you can see here just around the bend, she's got to ease off because Alemu has drifted back into the inside of the bend, as is her right there as the race leader. But Alemu looking really strong in that last 50 metres. Catriona Bissett of Australia looking fantastic as well. And Halima Nakai of Uganda putting herself in contention to that final with a non-automatic qualifying spot. Watch out for Lindsay Butterworth of Canada. It's been given to Poland's Cichowska at the moment, but Lindsay Butterworth gave it absolutely everything over the line. And was so close to catching the pole. And I'll be interested to see what the official result is between the Canadian and the Polish athlete.
Loaded semi-final, won by Habitum Alemu. Good work from her. Catriona Bissett was easing down towards the line. Nakai third, and Butterworth out-dipping the very experienced Pole, Cichowska. She takes the second of the non-automatic spots for the final, and what a final it promises to be.
Talk about fine margins in our sport. I think that puts Jenny Salmon of Great Britain into the final by virtue of her 2:02 dead.
Confirmation of the lineup for the women's 800-metre final. Habitum Alemu, the quickest qualifier, but how impressive. Natoya Gould and RG Wilson. The two non-automatic qualifiers come from the third semi-final. Nakai and also Lindsay Butterworth.
It's so hard to keep across these non-automatic qualifiers, but heartbreak instead for Britain's Jenny Salmon. 100 outside of the British final, of the senior final here for the British champion. Lindsay Butterworth is coming up trumps. So impressive to fight all the way to the line. But look at that man. He's someone that knows how to fight all the way to the line. The new indoor world record holder, Jakob Ingebrigtsen. He's only done one race this indoor season. Won that Olympic title in Tokyo. Wrapped up his season on the circuit. Back here to have a go at the World Indoor Championships.
Great images. This was the image from one of the warm-up areas where the athletes could watch the subsequent heats, and that was Jenny Selman watching the third semi-final, and she wouldn't necessarily have been happy with what she saw there because she isn't through to the final, but Mahuchik is in the women's high jump final, and the Ukrainian going well.
Mahuchik here was a first-time clearance at 1 metre and 95. Just that one blip at 1 metre and 92. Eleanor Patterson, she had first-time clearances through to 1 metre and 92. So could that first-time failure come back to haunt the Ukrainian Yaroslava Mahuchik? Ukrainian athlete getting the kit back on. She has the lead at the moment. She's the only athlete over that 1 metre and 95. Montenegro's Vukovic love to join her, and she does. First time clearance for Montenegro's Vukovic at 1 metre and 95. Not many women this season that have managed over 1 metre and 95. We've already lost Emily Borthwick of Great Britain, leaving just 4 or 5 of these women that have done this in this 2022 season. Many of them have higher lifetime bests, and it is relevant looking at their outdoor personal bests when competing indoors. Mahuchik, an athlete with the best outright personal best indoors or outdoors. Here we go, Eleanor Patterson. First attempt at 1 metre and 95, and she does it. The Australian maintains her clear scorecard. Such an interesting story for me. Eleanor Patterson just quitting the sport after not qualifying for her home Commonwealth Games in the Gold Coast in 2018. She was going into that as defending champion and just walked away from the sport. This is all too much. I don't want to do this. But here she is back with the world leading mark this season. She's only the world lead by 4 centimetres. You can see there, Dubinskaya. That was her first attempt at 1 metre and 95. Great clearance there for the athlete from Kazakhstan. That's a great angle. You can really see that power and that height these women high jumpers achieve. Skyer quietly getting on with a clean scorecard.
Now, this is an important moment for Damien Warner. Ehammer, who is in second place overall, has already cleared 490. This is Warner's third and final attempt to join him on that height. Doesn't have this title, Warner. Wants it, needed that, and got it. That's the resolve of a champion. So Damien Warner over 490. Jenny Meadows is down there on the infield. Jenny, so much excitement ahead of watching Jakob Ingebrigtsen. It's ridiculous to think he's won all those European titles and the Olympic title and set a world record, and guess what? He's still just 20. Training regime must be incredible, because for him to have emerged as a global player at the age of 17, he must have been doing some brutal mileage from the ages of sort of 13, 14. Have you got any insight into exactly the type of training that's got him to this speed at such a tender age? He certainly has great insight there from Jenny Meadows, and we now get to turn our attention to Jakob Ingebrigtsen. They are pretty famous in Norway. I think they've got a reality show based on them, Hannah. Him, Philip, Henrik, the whole family are front and centre in Norwegian media. They love him.
It's really brilliant if you want to check that out on YouTube. The Ingebrigtsen brothers documentary, I loved it. Just that insight into the drive and the coaching practices and the passion from that whole family. Jakob Ingebrigtsen hunting for Norway's first ever medal in this men's 1500 metres. But first, he's got to navigate this opening round of the men's 1500.
Once again, we've assembled the world's very best to be here.
7 men in this first heat of 4 of the men's 1500 metres. First 2 automatically qualify and 4 non-automatic on time. You say Jakob Ingebrigtsen can navigate this any way he likes, but these tracks are tight. He's got to watch out for trips, for shoves, for falls, for steps on the inside. All sort of antics that can catch you out indoors. Tedessi Lemi of Ethiopia on the outside. 3:31 outdoors for the Ethiopian. That's going to be dangerous. Ordinez there of Spain. He'd love to make a major championship final. Tabiani of Belgium is the national record holder indoors and out. With leg number 4, Luke McCann of Ireland, recent indoor national record over 1,000 metres. Josh Thompson, these American athletes have looked fantastic in the endurance so far. But what about Jakob Ingebrigtsen, Olympic champion? Can he become the world indoor champion? Waving to the crowd, appreciating the presence of greatness of Michael Rosmes. Touts himself as a beer specialist. Knows a lot about brewing beer, but I'd say he knows an awful lot about 1500 metre tactics. Always seems to get himself in the right place at the right time. 8th in that Olympic final, Michael Rosmes. I'm sure Jakob Ingebrigtsen was a tiny dot out down the track ahead of him. These men have been out there for a while, letting the women do their high jump on the track. They've been held. They've looked impatient on that back straight, and they've got to wait just a tiny bit longer.
Agonising moments for these men. At last, they prepare for the first of the semi-finals.
Michael Rosmes happy to take up the early running. Very good at 1500 metres. He's got a good turn of pace, but this is tough qualifying. Just first 2 and 4 non-automatic qualifiers. So you want to hedge your bets. This going at sub 340 pace for me. Any slower than that and anything can happen. People start to fall, people start to push and shove, and the race goes nowhere near the form book Ingebrigtsen doesn't care. This race can go any which way for Jakob Ingebrigtsen. I'm sure he'll glide past the field at some point. But Michael Rosmus there, pretty sedate start. That's only just inside 4-minute pace. Probably slower than Claudia Bobachea led out the first heat of the women's 1500. And Luke McCann of Ireland just sitting there. I wonder if he realises he's got the world record holder and the Olympic champion on his shoulder. He probably does. You're thinking, maybe I should just copy what Jakob Ingebrigtsen's doing.
He will be well aware that Ingebrigtsen is behind him and just out of shot. Ingebrigtsen now does begin to at least vaguely look like he's interested in closing the gap. Ingebrigtsen runs second from the back at the moment. Ingebrigtsen runs with such unbelievable amounts of confidence. He's yet to really go through a bad patch. Good running here by Debjani of Belgium to try and turn this pace into a little bit more of an honest race. And in the back of their minds, these guys might be thinking, hang on, I'm running for one available spot here, but all of them are world class. This is a really, really tough heat.
This is a really tough heat, and they've got that tough job of having no idea what sort of pace, what sort of time would help you if you were outside those automatic top two. And Debjani of Belgium has just chosen to put his foot down. He's done some fantastic times this season. 3:33 outdoors. He's got that Belgian record indoors and outdoors. But Jakob Ingebrigtsen has taken his move seriously. You look down the track and see a 3:33 man stretching it out at the front. Maybe you need to move onto his shoulder. The Ethiopian there, Tadesse Lemmy, he's trying to get involved. And Michael Rosmus of Poland sitting there on the inside, on the rail. It's a decent position to be in when you've got good athletes in front of you. Rosmus will be conserving energy. And again, though, they just seem to bunch. Debjani stretched out, but I feel like the field has slowed slightly as they come through with 500 metres to go.
Now Ingebrigtsen just comes to the fore, to the front. Debjani might end up getting boxed. Michael Rosums of Poland, hugely experienced. He's in second place, and the Belgians tried to shove him in the back there, but it's all happening behind Jakob Ingebrigtsen, who looks to me like he is gliding round the track, already looking over his shoulder. There's all sorts of bumping and barging going on as the Ethiopian now tries to put himself in contention for that second spot. But look at the body language of Jakob Ingebrigtsen. No tension in the shoulders, head rock steady still. He's got this under control as they take the bell.
Ingebrigtsen takes the bell. He's got 200 metres between him and a spot in the final and a shot at that World Indoor Championship goal. But who can get there to fight with him? Tadesse Lemmy of Ethiopia is giving absolutely everything. Michael Rosmus is getting squeezed out on the inside, the Polish athlete. We hate to see these two run into the back of the Olympic champion Ingebrigtsen, but Ingebrigtsen just squeezes out a little bit more pace. Keep your eye on the American, Josh Thompson. The Americans are fantastic fast finishers, but they cannot get anywhere near Tadesse Lemmy and Jakob Ingebrigtsen, conserving every bit of energy for that final. He just wanted to stretch that field out, make it a sure thing. He wasn't bothered about absolutely winning it. He let Tadesse Lemmy ease past him. Pretty hard to judge that when you haven't got a big screen to look at, and Ingebrigtsen got away with that, but those men were closing ferociously behind him.
Lemmy takes it, but Ingebrigtsen had that totally under control. No issue whatsoever for the Norwegian. And the other reason we have to remind ourselves he's still so young is the tactical astuteness that he's built up, because he's already been performing at the highest level for 3 seasons. Remember when he won those European titles outdoors, he was 17. So that's already a number of seasons ago, and Ingebrigtsen, in having won the Olympic title, has got that metaphorical monkey off his back. He's achieved the very highest things. Now he's put himself in the realm of being a record breaker, having taken the world indoor crown. Looking over his shoulder, not interested in the battle for third between Thompson and Rosums. He was confident and comfortable in the second automatic spot. I just love how relaxed his body looks as well. There's just no hint of tension anywhere with Ingebrigtsen.
Very like RJ Wilson taking that second heat for the women's 800. Just very commanding. He knew, at some point I've got to throw this field open. I can't be running in a big pack. It's not worth the risk. So I'm just going to put my foot down ever so slightly, stretch the field out, and then just command it, do what I want. And then Lemmy and Ingebrigtsen taking those automatic qualifying spots, and you've got to feel that 3:38.6 might not be enough for Joshua Thompson of America and Michael Rosmus. There's that confirmed result of the heat. First heat in the men's 1500 metres. Desi Lemmy 3:38 and Jakob Ingebrigtsen 3:38. USA's Joshua Thompson, Poland's Michael Rosmus will have to sit and wait to see if their 3:38.61 is enough to advance them into tomorrow's final. 6:35 on the closing session of this World Indoor Challenge Championships. That's when we'll see the men's 1500 metre final. And could Jakob Ingebrigtsen add a World Indoor Championships to his Olympic Championships?
Hugely impressive qualification from Jakob Ingebrigtsen and Lemmy in the first heat. How good would it be here? Eric Zikwinkunda, semi-finalist in the African Games a few years ago. Then El Gessi, Neil Gawley of Great Britain made the world final in Doha, the European indoor final last year. Next to him, Robin Farken of Germany, national champion outdoors and indoors. 3:34 is very best. Will he have to run close to that? Ignacio Fontes, European under-23 champion a few years ago, made the Olympic final. Little nod, he's ready. Charles Gretham was also in the Olympic final last year for Luxembourg, 5th in the World Student Games a few years ago. C. Gaylord from the Seychelles goes in lane 2. And Neslam Amselek of Italy on the inside, national indoor champion, 6th in the European indoors last year. So the tight 200 track clearly suits the Italian. Thompson and Rosmus, 3:38.61, the non-automatic mark for those unable to finish in the top 2. Well, it was all about Jakob Ingebrigtsen in the first of the heats or semi-finals, whatever you want to call them. First 2 going through, and the Italian looked as though he did have the inside track, but he's been passed, very delicately done by Ignacio Fontes of Spain, who's come through. The loping stride of Zikwinkunda of Burundi in second place, but this looks pretty slow early on.
Pretty similar to the first heat. They seem to go out around that 3:50, 3:55 pace and then kick as hard as they can. I've said it before, if there's ever a guy that thinks they can kick better than the rest of the world, it's probably a Spanish endurance runner, and they can. They've got such a great finishing speed. I love the tactics of the Polish athletes and the Spanish when we get into these tight indoor turns. But Fontes leading but not leading really. He's letting the athlete on his inside control the pace. Fontes just keeping himself out of trouble.
Farken of Germany just getting a little tap on the shoulder from El Gouessi, the World Student Games silver medalist a few years ago. The Moroccan just in 4th. They are the 2 tallest figures in this field. The diminutive Fontes still leading, and nobody really yet prepared to make a big move. And in fact, as I say that, Fontes opens up, whether he's done it deliberately or not, the tiniest little gap, hoping perhaps that the man from Burundi might share the pace-making duties with him, but he's not interested at the moment, and it is still the Spaniard. And lap by lap, they're edging closer to a big burn-up as Charles Gretham of Luxembourg now gets himself on the shoulder of the German.
We've seen this in so many of the heats. Athletes moving up, but they're not trying to take the lead. I really thought that Charles Gretham of Luxembourg might actually be trying to make a race-changing move, but instead he was just getting himself in a bit of better position. They just cycle around in this group. It's so congested until someone loses their patience and unleashes a kick. Fontes might have to do it. He might be forced into it to ensure he doesn't get swallowed up by the athletes flying around on the outside.
No mention yet of Neil Gawley, who was at the back of that group, and he was having his stride checked time and time again. And these tight groups are where the mistakes and the accidents can happen.
They really can. Push and a shove, you can lose your momentum, you can lose a shoe, or you can fall flat on your face. Charles Gretham there of Luxembourg having another go, but but again he slams on the brakes and is happy to let Farkanen be the athlete to break this field apart. And there we go, Neil Gawley for the first time stepping off the rail as they come round to 400 to go. And these men are really starting to move. There is no margin for error with just 2 automatic qualifiers into the final. Robert Farkanen at the moment doing a good job of getting this field going, but there are still too many men for just 2 automatic qualifying spots.
Fontes is fighting his way through the field. I think the reason Grethen of Luxembourg, with that distinctive red and light blue outfit, I think the reason he closed down on Farkanen, he thought the German was going for a big move. Now they take the bell, and it's still too tight to call which of these 2 men are taking the automatic spots. Robert Farkanen has been at the front for the last couple of laps. Neil Gawley somehow found a way through on the inside, shoulder barging Grethen, who was in the Olympic final. The Briton now winding up for a big finish. Fontes trying to close the gap, but he's a long way adrift. Good running. Neil Gawley and Robert Farkanen are the automatic qualifiers. Ignacio Fontes and Charles Grethen of Luxembourg will have to wait and see. The key moment there was down the back straight with about 100 metres to go. He somehow forced a way through on the inside of the man from Luxembourg, and from there his qualification was almost assured. Good running by the Brit.
If you want to look at how to navigate World Championship heats so that you get into the final, Neil Gawley has done a fantastic job at that, the Scotsman. Look at Chris O'Hare, also from Scotland and Great Britain. He was great at that. Robert Farkanen, he made that race. He sort of lost his patience first, but he has the strength and the experience to judge his effort correctly. Look at that move. That's into the bow. Robert Farkanen going, I've got to protect this position. He made Charles Grethen go wide and fight hard, and Neil Gawley was there to pick up the pieces. He had to be patient. He had to take this opportunity with 150 metres to go. If Neil Gawley had switched off then, if he'd been at all asleep and not taken that gap on the inside, he might have struggled to get around the Spaniard and the Luxembourg athlete, but he didn't. Neil Gawley made one move in this race, and it was exactly what he needed to do. The other athletes further down the track made multiple moves, and that for me is one of the tricks of navigating the 1500s and 800s indoors. One concerted move that actually makes a difference to your race result is far more important than a host of micro moves that just waste emotional and physical energy. Much easier said than done.
Great running by the Briton and the German. Neil Gawley of Great Britain barging his way through down the back straight on the last lap, and to good effect. He's through to the final, so too is Robert Farkanen. Fontes and Grethen, I'm not sure 3:43 and 3:44 will be good enough. Now Mahujic, first attempt at 1:98.
This high jump competition really hotting up. So that bar gets up to 1:98. That is a really significant clearance for the Ukrainian Yaroslava Mahujic. Really turned the heat on when it mattered. This is a season's best for the Ukrainian athlete, and she made that look easy. And that's because she knows how to bring her best efforts into the championship arena. Mahujic there of Ukraine, piling the pressure on her competitors. There's only a few of them left at this 1:98 height. Patterson's gone clear. Dubovitskaya has gone clear at 95. But that makes Mahujic the first athlete clear at 1:98. So this is the third of 4 heats in the men's 1500 metres. On the outside there, George Mills, the British champion in 2020, indoors and out. Really got a great finish, been chipping away at his ability season on season, down to 3:36.03. To his inside, Isaac Nader, exited in the heats at the European Indoor Championships. I'm sure he'd like to see a final here. Joe Alessi of Italy. Jack Anstey replaced Stu McSweeney out of COVID, and that great Australian athlete out. Here is Tafira. He's the reigning champion. I'm sure you'll watch with keen interest Jakob Ingebrigtsen to navigate that first heat. Leg number 2 will be Federico Bruno, national indoor record holder for Argentina. He's also done a 2:15 marathon. So you go from a marathon to an indoor 1500. Let's see. Final athlete in this lineup is Samuel Prekel. lots of US podiums over the years. That system over in America, the collegiate system and their national championships, I think would really prepare you well for this global stage.
On your mark.
And they're off. George Mills there on the outside. You will have seen his teammate and compatriot Neil Gawley making that final, winning their second heat. But it is Bruno from Argentina, the marathon runner come 1500 meter runner, taking up the early running. This is what you should do if you're a slow twitch runner. If this is the shortest race you're ever going to do, you need to make it hard run from the gun.
And it's a very sensible tactic. He looks like a throwback to the 1970s, loving the old school tash and the headband. But the reason this is such a good idea, the 4 non-automatic times, 3:38.61, Thompson and Rosums, and Saul Ordonez is in the 4th of those spots at the moment with 3:43.67. So they don't necessarily need to finish in the top 2. If they know they're capable of running, say, 3:41, 3:42, go out for that time and try and hang on, because there are 4 non-automatic qualification spots for the final. Really good tactic by the Argentinians.
Absolutely, and that's the first respectable first 400 metres we've seen in this men's event. 58.51. I thought we were going to see the fastest opening laps all go to the women's races yesterday. But Bruno of Argentina doing a really good job at keeping this race moving. Samuel Tefera, no messing around. We saw Jakob Ingebrigtsen very happy to sit way at the back. Tefera doing the opposite. He's a reigning champion. Held that title for a lengthy 4 years. You wouldn't normally get to do that, and I'm sure he's enjoyed every day of it. And he will relish the challenge of Jakob Ingebrigtsen in that final if he can safely navigate the next few laps of this third heat of the men's 1500. But Tefera, he was the previous world record holder with his 3:33.7. He had to watch Jakob Ingebrigtsen destroy that earlier in the season at Les Vannes.
Interesting that George Mills, as the fastest man in the world this year in this field, is drifting off the back as the defending champion and the second fastest in history hits the front.
George Mills looking out of sorts there. He didn't make the start line of the final at the British Championships. I think through illness. That might be a misquote, but he qualified easily and then didn't contend the final. So bad news for Great Britain. It might just be a single athlete, Neil Gawley, in that final. But Tefera accepted that invitation from Federico Bruno to take up the lead. Federico Bruno went, I'm not going to be the sacrificial lamb for this whole field. You've got to help me out. And that's a great kilometre there through this field. See Samuel Prekel of the USA sitting there in third place, and Portugal's Isaac Nader in 4th, and Arisi of Italy for the first time trying to get himself a little bit further up the field. They've got just under 400 to go in this third heat of the men's 1500 metres.
Tefera looks really good here. A little bit of a lope in his stride. Bruno will try and hang on, and I tell you what, he's got his elbows out as Arisi, the Italian, tries to come past him, and he's closed that loophole off. But the reigning defending champion has a look over his shoulder at the bell. He's in control.
Pietro Arisi, on paper from my notes, has got no right to be in second place here in this heat in the World Indoor Championships, but the Italian is giving it absolutely everything. He's desperate to have a shot at this World Indoor Final. Can he hold off the fast finishing Nader of Portugal? Can Samuel Tefera open up a bit of a gap in the last 50 like we saw Jakob Ingebrigtsen do? Tefera of Ethiopia looking over his shoulder, he's fine, but it's Italy versus Portugal for the second place. I hope you could hear that roar. Look at the emotion from the Italian. What a run. That is the run of his life. Pietro Arisi of Italy outperforms everything he's ever done before to take that second automatic qualifying mark in the 1500. He's looking like he can't believe it. The scoreboard, I think, is taking a second to catch up with him. But Tefera, not as dramatic for him. He's won this whole title before, never mind just the first round heat. Look at that for Arisi, the Italian.
That's one of the best reactions we've seen at the finish line. The national indoor champion from Italy last year, delighted to make it through to the final. He ran really well. You know what we said? The Italians had an amazing games last year at the Olympics, and maybe a whole generation are going to be forthcoming.
Samuel Tefera taking that third heat in the men's 1500 metres. The defending champion looks forward to a clash with Jakob Ingebrigtsen tomorrow evening. Petro Orisi of Italy with an inspired second place there. He will again be an athlete that can turn his attention towards that final. One heat left in that 1500 metres, men's 1500 metres.
First attempt and a clearance at 198 for the athlete from Kazakhstan, Nazada Dubovitskaya, Asian record holder, is in unbelievably good form here in Belgrade.
5 meters 10. This is his first attempt.
A whoop of delight from her with that excellent clearance. Really hotting up now the end of this women's high jump.
Mahuchik for the second time at 2 meters in the high jump.
Dubovitskaya, due to her clean scorecard, look at that. All those O's, that puts her in that gold medal position. Eleanor Patterson has got to stay on terms with Kazakhstani athlete, and that will help. Eleanor Patterson, that'll be her second time clearance at 1 meter and 98. So she is going to have to go higher than Dubovitskaya if she wants to take the gold medal back to Australia. Wouldn't it be great to see her at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham in a few months' time? What if she could win at 2014 and then 2022? But I'm getting ahead of myself. She's got to navigate the World Indoor Championships first. Mahuchik of Ukraine is a first-time attempt at 1 meter. Oh no, she had a first-time clearance at 1 meter 98. This is a bar at 2 meters now. Really getting to the business end of this women's high jump final. She's done this height before. She's been here before, but she couldn't quite manage it today. That first attempt, just not quite getting her hips over the bar.
And remember, she had that first time miss at 192, and that could end up costing her the gold medal.
Really could. The fine margins here. As you can see, that was a second time failure at 2 meters. And here's Eleanor Patterson for a lifetime best. That is a second time clearance at 2 meters for Eleanor Patterson, a new oceanic record. Look at that. She has had to go higher than she's ever gone before. She is the first woman over that 2 meter height. That puts her in the gold medal gold medal position, and her contenders have got to try and react. Mahuchik's had 2 failures. Could she manage it on a third attempt? Dubovitskaya has had 1 failure at 2 meters. The Australian athlete, Eleanor Patterson, the only woman over this height. And that's why you see that outpouring of emotion. That knowledge, you want to celebrate that new area record, that new personal best, but you've got to maintain your composure. What will the other women do in response? Patterson letting herself have a bit of a smile. Dubovitskaya, if she goes clear here on her second attempt at 2 meters, she will go back into the lead. She's only had 1 failure in this whole competition. Dubovitskaya, second time failure at 2 meters. At the moment, Eleanor Patterson, the only woman over 2 meters. Could she turn the dream season into a gold medal? Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan and Mahuchik of Ukraine have something to say about that.
2 meters, nobody else has. Mahuchik and Dubovitskaya will have 1 more attempt each.
So at the moment, Dubovitskaya having the nod just ahead of Mahuchik on the countback. I'm sure they would love to get over this 2 meters, and wouldn't it be fantastic to see the bar soar up to 2 meters and 2, 2 meters and 4, and a few more women fighting it out for these medals. Mahuchik out there in lane 1 for 60 meters. Just contemplating what could be. She's picked up so many medals for Ukraine. At the moment, she's in that bronze medal position. She will be taking a medal home. But can Yaroslava Mahuchik convert this bronze into something a little bit better? Third and final attempt at 2 meters.
Mahuchik has to get this to stay in the competition.
Oh, what a response! Yaroslava Mahuchik, that is what Australia's Eleanor Patterson, but that pushes her up into the silver medal position. What can Nadezhda Dubinskaya of Kazakhstan do now? Such a pressure jump from Mahuchik. What a woman.
Dubinskaya, one hand on the gold medal, all of a sudden, she's the one under huge pressure. Mahuchik has got nerves of steel for such a youngster. Nerves of steel. That was phenomenal from the Ukrainian.
See her coaching staff, her teammates, pentathlete there, nervously watching on. So, Dubinskaya, bronze medal position at the moment. Can she give Eleanor Patterson and Yaroslava Mahuchik something to worry about? See the final heat of the men's 1500 just patiently waiting. I doubt they quite understand the drama that's going on. They'll have the respect to know that every athlete deserves their moment. Dubinskaya, third and final attempt at 2 meters. She'll be taking a bronze medal at least for Kazakhstan.
2 meters to stay in the hunt for better than bronze.
So that will be a bronze medal for Kazakhstan and Nadezhda Dubinskaya of Kazakhstan. And that leaves us with Eleanor Patterson and Yaroslava Mahuchik. The bar has to go up to 2 meters and 2. 2 meters was not enough to give us our victor. What a women's high jump final.
We will get back to that as soon as we can. Meanwhile, we have to wrap up the last of the qualifiers for the men's 15. Abdelatif Siddiqui of Morocco, he's on the outside, semi-finalist in the Olympic Games last year. Andrew Korskaran of Ireland also made the semis. Ollie Hall, Oceanian record holder, won the New York Tour event, NCAA champion a few years ago, brilliant championship performer. Abraham Guer, South Sudan, tall figure. Next to him, Cameron Prosiviat, national indoor record holder for the mile, the Canadian. Then Bertsius of Lithuania, Algorny of Libya, and Abel Kipsang, just off the podium in the Olympic final last year. He won the Birmingham Indoor Tour, and he's a 1:45 man over the 800 meters. Could he get his hands on one of the 2 automatic berths? Non-automatic times, by the way, are 3:37 and 3:38. Prakel of the United States, 3:38.69, the slowest of those. That's Hoare, the Australian. Wow. Okay, we've had one of those already in the women's 1500. Now we have one in the men's, and hopefully this will be faulty as opposed to false. There is a lot of energy and a lot of movement round on that far side of the stadium because, as you quite rightly said, Hannah, that's where we're getting towards the climax of Mahuchik against Borthwick in the women's high jump showdown. But let's hope this is faulty.
A green card being shown to the entire field with the speed at which they managed that. But Algorny had his head in his hands. I wonder if he did false start, but they've decided it doesn't, like we said with the women's heat yesterday in the 1500, it doesn't really matter. You're better off saying it was probably distraction and noise in the crowd.
We go again. 4th semi-final of the men's 1500.
So away we go.
Well, that looked like the front of a first-year dinner queue in secondary school. There was all sorts of bumping and barging going there. And I tell you what, Abel Kipsang's not interested in any of that. He has gone off lightning quick and maybe just very sensibly deciding he's not interested in getting shoved in the back and finding himself on the deck. He was just off the podium in Tokyo and wants to give himself every single opportunity to make sure that he's there or thereabouts come the 1500-meter final tomorrow. Good tactics from Kipsang and Hannah, knowing that the 4 non-automatic times are 3:37 and 3:38. The rest of the field, if they're not lightning quick in terms of sprint finishes, they would do well to go with it.
Surprising to see them not go with Kipsang. Why would you not take the opportunity as a designated pacemaker? But that might be why. 55.73 is pretty aggressive for the first 400. Ollie Hall there of Australia, perhaps running a more sensible pace. You can see there he's got 24 kilometres per hour. They're going pretty much the same speed as Kipsang, the Kenyan out in front, and they might reel him back in, but Hall would want to do all the work for the rest of this field. You can see him, he's either lifting his pace or Kipsang is slowing slightly, but you'd like to see the likes of Andrew Coscoran and Ollie Hall get back on terms with the Kenyan.
Prosviat of Canada is just behind Ollie Hall. There's a couple of decent athletes. You mentioned the Irishman, and also don't forget Siddiqui of Morocco, just at the back of that little chase group, and they are beginning to reel in the Kenyan. I wonder if he's going to pay the price for the exuberance of that 55 plus change opening 400 meters. All of a sudden we have a lead pack still together. Kipsang is no longer on his own. He's got the Irishman and the Australian for company.
Nice move there from Andrew Coscoran. He was just running wide. He was getting involved with the athletes behind him. He thought, no, a tiny little injection of pace here down that back straight would be enough to carry me into a better position. Abel Kipsang is a phenomenal athlete, 4th place at that Tokyo Olympics. That's not a bad person to position yourself behind. Ollie Hall there, just wanting to get involved as well. But Ollie Hall is running pretty wide there. This time is within, running at a pace that's achievable for all these athletes, but they're going to want to position themselves really well now, but without exerting a lot of energy to get there.
Well, speaking of exerting energy, Abel Kipsang has been all over the place with his pacing, but Kenyan athletes tend to be so good at being able to live with a fluctuating rhythm. Kipsang leads, Hall in second. Good running by Siddiqui, but remember, 3:37 or 3:38 would be good enough for these guys to get through, but they are quite a long way behind that qualifying line, so having started really quickly, they've gone off the pace. This lap becomes crucially important now in the battle for the top two. Ollie Hall, the taller figure of the two men between whom he's sandwiched. Kipsang, the long-term leader, with Ollie Hall just behind him. Now Siddiqui beginning to drift backwards, and it looks like we may only get 2 from this one. Kipsang takes it, strange old race. Ollie Hall in second. Siddiqui might have been in with a shout, but I don't think so. I'm fairly sure the 4 non-automatic qualifiers will be those who posted 3:37 and 3:38. What a strange race. Kipsang miles clear of everyone with a ridiculous 55 plus change opening 400. Then he lets them all come back and then pulls away from everybody again at the end.
That's really hard to do when you've gone fast and you've slowed down, and then to lift your pace again. And I think that's what we might have seen with the rest of the field as well. They went out at a decent pace. The middle third, if you like, the middle 500 was pretty sedate, and then to ask yourself to kick on top of that, I think that's why we saw only Kipsang and Oliver Hall able to do that. These athletes have run significantly faster than the rest of the field, and you can see that class coming into effect in this last lap when they were able to lift their pace, and they left the other athletes floundering down the track outside of those non-automatic qualifying spots. You're right, that was an interesting race to watch unfold, but I think all of our heat winners have looked pretty good. Kipsang, Tavera looked untroubled. Neil Gawley of Great Britain looked very impressive to me, and Jakob Ingebrigtsen just didn't win. He looked like he could have won. Lemmy of Ethiopia came past him and won that heat, but those two looking comfortable in that first heat of 4 as well. So this is a first attempt at 2 meters and 2 centimeters. Wow, Yaroslava Mahuchik. What has she done there? A first-time clearance at 2 meters and 2 centimeters. It took her 3 attempts to get over 2 meters. You can see there she's saying, we need to calm down, let's calm down, let's calm down. I've done that. That's phenomenal. I had to go to my 3rd and final attempt for 2 meters. But wow, the Ukrainian means business. 2 meters and 2 centimeters. It's 3 centimeters higher than anyone has jumped this year. And that propels her into the gold medal position.
On the screen now, the qualifiers for the men's 15.
Patterson had a failure at 2:02. The bar has gone up to 2:04. Patterson probably thought that the gold was going to her, But Yaroslava Mahuchik, just as she surprised everyone with that incredible silver in Doha back in 2019 with that World Junior record of 2:04, has put herself in the driving seat to upgrade World Outdoor Silver to World Indoor Gold. What a display of composure. A first-time clearance at 2:02.
And this is a first attempt at 2 meters and 4. Not to be at the tactics here. So Eleanor Patterson passing her second attempt at 2:02 forced Mahuchik to have that first attempt at 2:04. I thought maybe it would be in Mahuchik's advantage. She'd had that momentum. She just had that fantastic first-time clearance. She just tapped her head there. She looked at her coach and tapped her head. Maybe she's saying, I let myself get in my head. I was thinking about that gold medal. I don't speak Ukrainian. But she's going, how did I do 2:02 so easily? And I just threw away a chance at a first-time clearance at 2:04. Such is the nature of high jump.
If she was to win this gold, it would be an utterly extraordinary performance.
Eleanor Patterson, quite rightly passing her second attempt at 2:02. She's already got a new personal best and an oceanic record with her 2 meter clearance. She needs 2 meters and 4 if she wants to take that gold medal home to Australia. Not on her first attempt. When you've been asked to do something you have never done before, it doesn't matter if it's a 4 centimetre difference or not. It's a daunting task. Eleanor Patterson go and check in with her coach, make some adjustments. So often overshadowed. Eleanor Patterson, she had a fantastic summer, but not as good as her compatriot Nicole McDermott. She took that silver medal at the Olympics. But Eleanor Patterson flying the flag out here for Australia. Yaroslava Mahuchik in the driving seat at the moment. She will take her second attempt at 2 meters and 4 centimeters. 5th place for Garashenko of Ukraine there. They couldn't relive their 1-2 from the European Indoor Championships last season. Great showing from this pair of high jumpers.
This is incredible from Mahuchik. The composure for that third-time clearance at 2 meters, and then to go over 2:02 at the first time of asking. Absolutely unbelievable. That's why so many people are excited about this young woman's talent. Oh, so close! So close! She's in fabulous form, Hannah. Fabulous.
She really is. You've got to say that 2 meters and 4 centimeters is possible. You have to think it. I think she's got to think that as well. She's ruining that chance there. I think she knew that was a fantastic attempt. I hope you could hear the crowd in the background here. Everyone was, you can see them in the background, raising their arms, cheering. Look at the tribune behind as well. People were raising their arms aloft in celebration because they thought the Ukrainian athlete had successfully navigated 2 meters and 4. But she will have to go for a third and final attempt. Eleanor Patterson of Australia, second attempt. She put the pressure on Mahuchik with her clearance at 2 meters. It took her 2 attempts to get over 2 meters, where Mahuchik took 3.
So, she needs this, or it is definitely gold to Yaroslav Mahuchik.
Second attempt, but she's had a pass at an earlier height, so that adds up to 3 consecutive failures for Eleanor Patterson. She passed her second attempt at 2:02. She was ambitious. She wanted a chance at this gold medal, but it wasn't to be. 2 failures at 2 meters and 4 centimeters, and that means it is a gold medal for Yaroslava Mahuchik of Ukraine. A valiant effort from Australia's Eleanor Patterson. What an exciting prospect for the outdoor season. World Championships, Commonwealth Games available to the Australian athlete. sure she'll be walking away with her head held high with that new area record. But the hallmark of a true champion, you can see up on that screen, Ukraine's Yaroslava Mahuchik. She's just going to have a go at 204. Doesn't matter that she's won. She wants to jump anyway.
And we know that 204 is a height she is capable of in a global final. There are people in the stand on their feet, willing this young woman to go even higher. Oh, not to be, but it doesn't matter. Silver in Doha, it's gold in Belgrade. At the press conference earlier this week, the president of World Athletics said, "We understand the fragilities of the political landscape, but this is a world championship in which sport will win through," and it has. It's gold to Mahuchik of Ukraine.
The pressure Yaroslava Mahuchik was under in that competition is phenomenal. We usually see her so much on the indoor circuit. She's only competed once in the 2022 indoor season, but that didn't hold her back. She worked her way into this competition and she looked every bit the champion you knew she could be. She's had medals before, but a world indoor gold. Ukraine's Yaroslava Mahuchik.
An understandably emotional victory for Yaroslava Mahuchik. What a follow-up to her silver as a teenager in Doha 3 years ago.
5 meters 20, challenging for the gold medal position. Third attempt, has to get this.
And it was the third time clearance at 2 meters that seemed to give her that added inspiration to turn a silver or a bronze into a gold. I think they can both be over the moon with their podium finishes. Great story from Patterson, as you indicated, walking away from the sport and then coming back. She'd love to have another crack at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, and she'll have that opportunity, injuries notwithstanding. Patterson's in the form of her life.
Just a fantastically exciting summer for all those women there. Dubovitskaya and Mahuchik have the World Outdoors and then the European Outdoors in Munich. Elena Patterson, World and Commonwealth Games. There you see it, the confirmed result in our only final this morning, the women's high jump. It was a gold medal for Ukraine and Yaroslava Mahuchik. World lead 2 meters and 2 centimeters. Elena Patterson of Australia gave it her best shot, leaving with an oceanic record. And Dubovitskaya of Kazakhstan leaving with an Asian record, 2 meters and 98 centimeters, breaking her own national record.
Well, one of the most exciting elements of Mahuchik taking that gold is, again, we were talking about Keely Hodgkinson's maturity and composure at such a tender age, taking the Olympic silver last year, the Briton who's pulled out. But Mahuchik's the same. Brilliant, brilliant maturity for somebody still so tender in years. Abel Kipsang won that race, slowed down in the middle, but took it in the end. Oliver Hall will also be in the final, but the others not quick enough for the non-automatic spots. What a showdown that's going to be. It won't be over 3 3/4 laps. It will be over 7.
We're here with the girl who celebrated at the moment, the girl
Tefera, the fastest of the qualifiers. Aresi gave the best reaction, though. The Italian was over the moon to come home and give himself a chance of glory. But Jakob Ingebrigtsen is the Olympic champion and the world record holder. Can he take the world indoor title? He will be the favourite, but it's going to be some race, and it will take a big performance to beat him.
Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause to the world champion, high jump, Yaroslava Mahuchik.
Dakle, čuli ste Jaroslavu Mahuchik, svetsku šampionku u dvorani u skoku vis.
here in Belgrade is almost over, but we will be mopping up the end of the men's heptathlon pole vault as Mahuchik mops up the adulation of the Ukrainian delegation and the rest of the crowd. Generous applause for the youngster who's taken the gold.
Still underway in this men's heptathlon pole vault.
Hausenberg. This was his first attempt at 5 meters, and the Raw told you it was more than good enough.
It's 38 points.
Now, Ash Maloney of Australia trying to get one hand on the bronze medal, or maybe even better. Remember, he was on the podium last year, and remember, he's never competed indoors before.
Double checked.
Oh, he too having no problem at all with the 5 meter marker. Only the 1,000 meters still to come for these men when they finished. Significant moment for Simon Ehammer. He was going for his 3rd attempt, and it was good enough. He's trying to give himself a chance of beating Damien Warner in the 1,000 meters. Good points for the Swiss decathlete, performing over 7 indoors. Now Warner, 3rd and final attempt at 5 meters. Can he stay with Ehammer? No, he can't. So a solid rather than spectacular pole vault for Warner, who concedes some points to Simon Ehammer of Switzerland. How many remains to be seen. So Warner bowing out at 490. Hausenberg. 2 vaults, 2 clearances becomes 3 vaults, 3 clearances. First time over 480, 5 meters and 510. The Estonian going really well in this competition, mopping up as many points as possible before that 1K burn up for gold, silver and bronze. Well, he's not the only heptathlete with a clean card. Certainly minimal energy expended for Hausenberg. Maloney got a nice early safe one on the board at 460. Could he join Hausenberg with a first time clearance at 510? Yes, he can. Well, whatever was wrong with his knee yesterday in that high jump, it looked a bit sore. He's having a cracking day, the Australian. What an exciting young discovery this guy is. Everyone was enthralled with his battle with Garrett Scantling for the bronze in the Olympics last year. Maloney going well. Ehammer for 510. Oh, and he's taken yet more points away from Damien Warner's lead. He loved it. He absolutely loved it. Hausenberg, Maloney and Ehammer over 510. So Hausenberg, 1 failure at 520. This is his 2nd effort. First time clearances at 80, 5 meters and 510. He's had 1 failure. Can he get that old school circle next to the cross? Oh yes, that is superb from the Estonian. Let's go. A huge points haul for Hans Christian Hausenberg. Massive PB already this year. He was lying in 6th overnight. Ehammer. No, not this time. So he does erode Damien Warner's lead going into the 1,000 meters later on tonight. He'll be ready for a big rest after those efforts. So 5:10 is his best, but it was 20 centimetres further than Damian Warner. Maloney, a great points haul already. Can he join Hausenberg over 5:20? Coming to the end of our morning session on a scintillating Saturday in Belgrade. No. He's a supreme competitor, Maloney. Looks disappointed, but he's in a great position. Maloney's given himself a wonderful chance of another global medal come the 1,000 metres. The only thing is he won't have Cedric Dubler dragging him round with a rope, as happened on the last lap, metaphorically speaking, of course, in Tokyo. It was one of the great moments. Now, Hausenberg's having an unbelievable competition. He couldn't, could he? Oh, yes, he can. 5:30. He is on fire down there on the infield. The very last man left competing. He's got the entire arena to himself. Some of the crowd have remained to cheer the Estonian. Wow. Hoping to close in on the podium positions, and he's in fourth. He's gone over 1,000 points with that clearance, 1,004. Maloney, 941 points, along with Ehammer. And Damian Warner is going to need to produce an excellent run over that 1K to take the title that just eluded him 4 years ago in Birmingham. Hausenberg, I'm just looking at him, he's closed the gap right down on Ash Maloney. Maloney's in third with 5,504 points. 6 points behind is Hausenberg, the Estonian. I'm talking about the overall points tally. He's obviously going to win the pole vault element of the heptathlon by 20 centimetres. Could he win it by even more? Hausenberg's given himself a chance. He's going to have to outrun Ash Maloney in that 1K, and we know that Maloney doesn't necessarily like the long distances. This for 5:40. No, not that time. Now, I'm just comparing their PBs. Maloney is a 4:39 man over the 1,500. It could be tight between them in that battle for the bronze medal. Hausenberg might have a chance to deny Maloney, you know. So much will come down to who can hang on the best on that 1,000 metres later on this evening. Ehammer, by the way, is in the lead. So going 5:10 to Damian Warner's 4:90, and that was an indoor PB for Warner, as it was for Ehammer. That little switch around of 61 points has been enough to put Ehammer in the lead ahead of tonight's 1,000 metres. But Damian Warner is an excellent, excellent runner. You're just comparing their PBs. Warner may well believe, if he can produce his best, that he's going to outrun Ehammer for the gold medal. Warner's PB indoors over 1,000 metres is 2:37. Ehammer's is 2:51. So if they both perform according to their lifetime bests, Warner can wrestle the gold back off Simon Ehammer with a good run over 1,000 metres. Will the same happen between Hans Christian Hausenberg and Ash Maloney, the Australian? Well, another 10 centimetres and another handful of points would certainly help. No more action from the stadium from this session. After we get to the end of Hans Christian Hausenberg's competition, it always takes a long time. The men's heptathlon or decathlon pole vault, and they'll certainly be ready for a rest and maybe even a sleep later on. Second attempt. No, one more to come. If he takes it, will he? I think he will, because he'll want every possible opportunity to try and wrestle that bronze away from Ash Maloney come the 1,000 metres. He knew this was a good event for him. He didn't know it was going to be this good. He's already produced a massive PB of 5:30. One last chance to pull yet further away from the rest of the field. Give himself the opportunity for a global medal. His best performance though in the 1,000 metres did come a few years back now. Just to mark your card if you're thinking about the action to come tonight, we've got the women's pole vault final, men's 800, men's shot put, women's 4, men's 4, women's 15, women's 60-metre hurdles, and we round off with the men's 60 metres. 10 golds in total available on day 2. One of them has already been taken by Yaroslava Mahuchik of Ukraine with 2:02 in the women's high jump. The two 400s will be fascinating. Shawnee Miller-Weibo, the double Olympic champion over 400 metres, up against Femke Bol, the third fastest 400 hurdler in history, who took a bronze in that extraordinary race behind Sydney McLaughlin and Dalilah Mohammed back in Tokyo. And then the men's race, could Jareem Richards strike gold for Trinidad? And if he was to do so, it would be a tremendously poignant victory after the sad death of his former relay quartet teammate, Dion Lendor, who died in a car crash, I believe, in January. So there's huge emotion on the line tonight for Jareem Richards, the former 200-metre specialist, doubling up and going over 2 laps indoors. Certainly ran very well in the semi-finals. All that to come. Let's get back to the here and now. One last attempt at 5:40. Hausenberg, desperate to round off this session. The hardcore have remained. There are 1 or 2 still here in the Stark Arena, waiting to see what kind of opportunity the Estonian can give himself come the 7th and final event later on tonight. This for another big PB. No. Applause to those who have remained. Very last action of our 3rd session in the stadium. Overall, of course, it has been a wonderful event for Hans Christian Hausenberg. He will go away, get himself poised and ready to try and deny Ash Maloney the bronze. Hausenberg, Maloney, Ehammer, Warner, all producing lifetime bests, but Damien Warner has lost ground on Simon Ehammer, and in so doing, he's relinquished the lead. So heading into that final event, Ehammer will be in front, and Warner will have to rely on his superior speed to turn silver 4 years ago into gold here in Belgrade. Confirmation of who sits where, and there is the news. Damien Warner no longer in the lead, 23 points behind Simon Ehammer, but he is a brilliant middle distance runner within the combined events fraternity. Maloney just ahead of Hausenberg, so we're going to have a tight battle for the gold between Ehammer and Warner, and Hausenberg trying to wrestle that bronze away from Ash Maloney. An evening session to rival the very best. We'll start just after 6 local time with the women's pole vault. Semis of the women's 60 hurdles and the men's 60 flat. Finals come thick and fast. Men's 800, the 2 400 finals. Miller Weibo against Boll, and then Jareen Richards going for glory for Trinidad. The women's 1500 final. The 60-meter hurdles. Who will make it through from the 3 semi-finals? And we round off with the men's final over 60 meters. Will it be the Olympic champion, Marcel Jacobs, against the world champion, Christian Coleman? Hannah, a wonderful session of athletics.
Fantastic start with that women's high jump final, and I'm looking forward to all those finals we've got lined up for this evening, and we've got a whole nother day to go afterwards.
We're only at the halfway stage, and we hope you've enjoyed the action we've seen so far as much as we have. But for now, from the Stark Arena in Belgrade, it's goodbye. We will see you tonight.